Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. Not too difficult to come into this place, it is. For in this energy we feel all that has been and the potentials of what will be in the very chairs that you sit. And the intent for this particular structure was always one of learning about God. And built into the very fabric of the wood was the human consciousness that built it for these reasons. And so there is an honoring that goes here, even before the message, even before the channel, even before the greeting that says, we recognize those who have had the epiphanies in the chairs, who've had the miracles here. And there have been many. Those who have come to worship and have raised their hands, and surging through them, they found the love of God. Well, that's the way it works. It's human intent that is the power. It is what is going on in the human being that makes the difference. Not the organizations, not the doctrines, not the books. Not the structure, not the rules, not the laws. For how are you with you? And how are you with those things called God? Indeed, there are those even now in disbelief of what they are seeing. This is simply the human being, they say, speaking yet again, pretending that he is hooked up to the other side of the veil where some strange entity is coming in with an affected voice giving a message for the day. Oh. And if that is you, and if that is your opinion, nothing that I will do will change it. For, dear one, you have free choice to feel or not feel. I know it is being thought now, for you are part of what we call the quantum hologram. A oneness of thought that even humans participate in. We know this. It is how we know what you are thinking, what you are feeling, what you are doing. It is how we know how much you need us. But free choice is the optimum of all of the energies, and so we do not disturb it. We do not prove it when you ask for proof, if you've noticed. Instead, we ask you to turn inward and claim the mastery which we have put there by design, which you know is there intuitively, and which you can claim for the asking. It is a sweet moment, these times, a sweet moment. And the entourage of Kryon is present, along with others. They've been here now for some time. I don't even have to call them in. For the intent of the many, provide for the energy of all. And there are many of you in this time, in this day, who have asked for what we give now. We give freely of the energy of Spirit that may flow into you. All of those who have asked for this will flow into you now with answers and solutions to even the most perplexing of problems. They flow in a way that they will be accessed later. This is what happens in a group such as this, at a time such as this, in an event such as this, is that even during the teaching there is what we call and have called a third language of intelligence that passes to you. You're wondering about the future. Is this right? Is this not right? What should I do now? I know who's here. Am I doing the right thing? I know who's here. how can I get to the next step? I know who's here. For those who want proof that this is what it seems to be, the only way we would say that there is proof, and that is that right now, if you would ask for such a thing, we ask you to get the chills of God. For I will put into you the love that pours into this place from the other side of the veil, that is family, that is reunion, and fill you in a way that you will know that this is real. From the feet to the head to the crown chakra and beyond, you will know, indeed, this is real. It is a precious place that we call home with you. By intent, you have asked for this to be. You've given permission for Kryon to come here for a moment of time in your 3D to present whatever it is. Just to sit and listen. And again we say, you have no idea who came to say whom, you see. For you open the door with your permission, and you give us permission to sit before you, human being, the one doing the work. It's always been that way. Eons have gone by. When we've wished to tell you the things that we now tell you, but we could not, for the energy of the human experience would not understand, would not allow for it. This expression of humanity, which you call your current life, is unique. For it sits upon a grid system which is also new and unique. It speaks to your DNA in ways that allows it to come forward and do things it never would do before. You have created this when you gave permission for the harmonic convergence. I'll take you some places here. You have no idea, do you, human, who you are? I see the light that is your name. I see layers 4 and 5, as my partner would call them. I see the angels before me, part of this fabric of the universe. I want to tell you about that. It is a good time to answer questions that have been presented by human beings in many ways, in their thoughts, especially in their minds, alone at night. And so we'll call this Questions and Answers Part 1, and I will answer 7 of the most common that have been given to me by those just like you. These answers are for all of you, even the listener. For there is a time out of time that I can tell you about, but that you cannot comprehend, because I am speaking to the ears of many. And to make things even more confusing, I am speaking to the ears of some who are here in another time. And so when you choose to listen to this at another time, that's me talking to you then. But I'm doing it now. Part of that hologram that is a quantum state of timelessness that we speak of. All of you listening, these are your answers too. We'll start with one that is asked, that is cried out in the middle of the night by so many, and not necessarily in this land. Dear God, will there ever be peace? In this land, you would ask of me, crying, will there ever be peace on earth? Do we need something like a one world government, for instance? Truly, what are the potentials? It is a good question, and I'm going to answer that the best I can. On the other side of the veil, which we're going to talk to you about in a moment, there are literally thousands of potentials of this planet. And if you could be in this area where they are, not a place, for there is no such thing as a place on the other side of the veil, But in this energy where they are, if you could look at them, the ones that vibrate the highest are the ones that are the most potentially accurate. So it's not a grab bag of futures and you have to close your eyes and take a look at one. No, I'm going to tell you the ones like a giant tarot reading of the planet, the energy of now. I'm going to give you this. The potential for this earth as it moves into 2012 is to plant the seeds of peace. It is before you, no matter what you have done, no matter the wars you have created, no matter the steps and the missteps, the ones that have delayed this or advanced this, you still are on the track. And this track we see as creating peace on this earth. Now it may not be as you would envision, a utopia where everyone is satisfied, where there is no hunger. It will not be and never will be one world government. In the history of the planet, you will never have one world government. It cannot be that way for the cultures that you support in the billions of you that are here must echo the leadership. Different governments and leadership for different ways. But peace on earth is defined as that time when you all agree to respect the other's principles of existence. Peace on earth is defined as at that time when you do not take advantage of others by force and one government to another is involved. Peace on earth is a time where there are no active wars. Peace on earth does not mean a utopia. Oh, there will always be disagreements. There will always be hunger. There will be those who need things that others do not have. Always. For you control the planet with free choice. And those things are a result of what some have called the chaos of the same. But peace on earth is when neighbor trades with neighbor, when you need the other one. An intertwining of governments, societies, and countries in ways that is unique. It is dynamic enough to shift with not only the politics but the economics. Look for a moment at an enemy of 50 years ago. I speak now to the Americans in the room of the United States. The enemy that you fought so heavily that ended in such horror. And you might say, how could we ever have friendship with them? And yet today, your society and theirs is wrapped up in a way that can never be separated. You know that, don't you? For those you call the Japanese, not that long ago were your mortal enemies, those who'd attacked you. And now they are partners, and they are trading partners, and they are friends. And that's only a half a century. Indeed, all things can work together, no matter what they seem like now, to create a peaceful existence. That's peace on earth. An agreement to understand. That's peace on earth. An agreement not to war. That's peace on earth. And when that is achieved, it is a collective consciousness that sticks. And I will tell you, dear human being, when you have that, you'll know it. And that's the potential that we see for you. I've said that for 18 years. And there are so many who say, oh, when, Kryon, when will we create that? You have a good start. You believe it or not, there is energy happening that is going to promote the things to take place in 2008, potentially 2008, potentially, to help all of this. And we said that long ago. That was question number 1. There will be 7. Here is the second question. Kryon, why do we have to have multiple religions on the planet? It doesn't seem to serve us. It doesn't seem to suit us. And which one of them is correct? Why is it there are so many who fight over who God is? Oh, dear ones. The very fact of looking around you and seeing the variety of them should prove what we have been teaching to you. Let me tell you the teaching. Yet again, the human comes into the planet and is born afresh. And yet as the human grows into an adult, there is one driving question, always has been, always will be. Who am I? Who is it that I feel with me? Who is just out of touch that may very well have created me? When I look around the earth and I see the beauty here and the creation here, who made it? Intuitive it is for the human being, driven you are, to find the Creator. And because of the duality, the last thing you do is to look inside. It all comes from some other place, does it not? And the angels and the masters will come in and give you advice, but it's still free choice and your own logic what you do with it. And it creates systems. The religions on your planet have all been created from those who had core questions about who they are. It's not necessarily about the masters who created the religions, who were conveniently there to start them, even those who had their name. No, it stems mostly from the human being's willingness not to collectively come together and do something foolish, but rather to come together and feel the love of God no matter where they are, no matter what the name is on the door, and they do. Know this, dear human being, that no matter what the name is of the religion, God is there. For God, what you call spirit, understands the call and understands the filters in which those humans will accept the answers and gives them everything that they can accept. Today, you sit here with divine knowledge about your DNA. You know, don't you, where God is. You can't come into this earth as angels and not have a piece of divinity in there. In this day it has been explained to you, it has been taught to you, now you know. Angel. Your Akash is in there, the human's Akash is in there, the record of all that you've ever been is in there. El Shaddai is in there. Almighty God is in there, Yahweh is in there. And so you might say your search for God is complete and you know where God is and you found it in you. And to a human being it's confusing because you have the duality now in full, the divinity versus the human being. What are you going to do with it? But I just told you that we will present this in whatever way that will allow the filters you have, and you have opened the door to allow truth. The biggest truth that human beings have ever found out is what you sit here knowing today. And that is that the strength of your divinity comes from inside, not from outside. And that you have a direct line to spirit, and you always have. And all humans have known that. That's the answer. Which religion is correct? Let me tell you, they all are correct. For they all search for God, which is the creator of all things. In various stages of appropriateness and ages, they have released themselves into their doctrines, all appropriately, for they served those who needed them at the time. Know this, there are those who need structure. Know this, there are those who need to memorize. Know this, there are those who need to count the beads. And God is with all of them. For they are all family. Know this, they are all loved by God. Know this, just like you. That was question 2. Question 3 is unanswerable, but we'll do it anyway. Dear Kryon, what is it like on the other side of the veil? It may seem insulting for me even to use the analogy. Step into the room lightly, will you? And on the pedestal you'll see the goldfish bowl. Make no sound. And in that bowl you'll find a goldfish. Don't frighten it by moving it. It doesn't understand what's on the other side of the glass. Now bend down and look into that bowl and talk to the fish. And explain to the fish the inner workings of the incandescent light bulb. The fish is the human being. You can't really see through the glass. It distorts everything around you. You made up your mind that on the other side of the glass there is something that feeds you. It must be God, and it must be a fish. After all, what else is there? You see? You make an agreement when you become human to put all of the understanding of interdimensional things away. And it is not in there. It is only when you access the interdimensional self, the higher self, when you take the hand of Spirit, that these things begin to clear up. For when you do that, you are participating in the quantum hologram. But when you're in 3D, you're just like the fish. What is it like on the other side of the veil? There is no such thing as a place. In 3D, you want a place, don't you? You want mansions built with gold, don't you? You want a clock that you can watch. All of those things. Imagine yourself in a rocking chair. And of course, none of those things are there. Imagine this for a moment. A ball of energy 8 meters wide that contains all of the energy of creation called you. A piece of God you are, a collective you are, connected to the others in ways that you cannot even imagine now. A ball of energy that has no eyes or ears or senses and yet has all of those. Can see all, can be all, can hear all. The colors are amazing. Interdimensional colors outside of the frequency and the spectrum of anything you can imagine. Beautiful it is. And the music. The things that pass through the veil untouched, that you have laughter, joy, love, and music. And you participate in music on this side of the veil in 3D, the best you can, in a linear fashion, one note at a time. Imagine the symphony when it all plays at once, all of the tunes of history. And it's not discordant. Each one is heard in its entirety, felt in its entirety. It's beautiful. That's what it's like on the other side of the veil. That's where God is. There are no struggles, but there are challenges, and that is why there needs to be things like earth. There are unanswered questions. There is balancing. There is universal creation. What you call the Big Bang wasn't. A clash, you might say, of interdimensional energies, of dimensionality. that dissects and bisects to create on an entire universe in a minute, in a flash of an instant. Energies which must be decided by planets of free choice like this one. Difficult to explain it is, why you're here. And that's what you do for this universe. And you've done it before. The other side of the veil? Oh, you know soon enough. You always do. Oh, human, there's going to come a time when I see you again. And you'll remember when I said goodbye and now be saying hello. And we'll talk about your time on earth. We'll play the tapes, as it were. Not for judgment, but for celebration. The day when you considered that God might be inside, we'll play that tape, so to speak. The days you celebrated the births of your children, if it's appropriate. And you shared the joy of a love of family when it's appropriate. All of these things are awaiting you on the other side of the veil. It's a workplace. That's what it's like. This entity is called Kryon, and I am part of a collective called other things. I am from the bigger family of the Archangel Michael. You call him that. Archangel Michael is not a man. He's not even a male. Kryon is not a man or a male. Kryon is part of the hologram, the compassionate, sweet energy that is balanced in all ways. That was the third question. The fourth question. Kryon, how can there be conflicting channels? Information which one says and another says and still another says, and they all conflict with one another, and yet the sources we all believe in. We believe they're fine human beings. They've given us good things in the past, and yet there they are giving information which clashes. To the best I can, I will now take you to the other side of the veil and give you the answer. We did this 1 week ago, but in another way. We will not involve as many metaphors, but we will still give you the one or two. A human being goes to the other side of the veil and he's presented with an interdimensional energy which does not make him feel good. It takes practice to go there. For the few that do this on a regular basis, the first time they go, there is confusion. And around them, they can see many energies. And let me tell you what happens. Let's paint a picture. We'll call it the highway of life. Here comes the human into the other side of the veil where they're looking at the highway of life. All the potentials of all of the futures are there. And they're now going to give you channeled information of what's going to happen on the planet. And they see, to their horror, a horrible wreck on the freeway. That's what's happening on the highway of life. Oh, the disappointment, the death, the destruction. And they come back and they say, here's what's going to happen. The channel information says there's going to be a wreck on the freeway. Another goes to the other side of the veil. This one's a little different now. The first one was steeped in 3D. Nothing wrong with that. You are in 3D. But the whole answer that he developed when he saw what he saw was based upon his filters in 3D of what he expected to see and what was most dramatic, you see. The second one goes over. He is more experienced. He's been there many times. He sees the freeway of life. He sees the wreck. But that's not going to fool him. For in 3D, that would be the biggest thing, the most dramatic thing. Instead, he sees what didn't happen over here because somebody made a change. Oh, they swerved to the left or to the right. They changed energies. They made decisions. And the wreck never happened, you see. And that's the potential that rings true with him. And he's going to come back and he's saying, you know what you're going to have? You're going to have peace on earth. You're going to have the curing of disease on this planet because you made decisions here. That's what I see, you see. Which one of those is right? The answer is they are both right. One of them, however, has the ring of truth. Which brings us to one of the other questions, which we'll get to in a moment. It's going to be question number 6. How can you tell if it's real? But we're not there yet. We're on 4. And so now I have given you the answer of 2 channelers, 2 psychics, 2 prophets, if you wish, going to the other side of the veil, both of them retrieving information which is actually there, bringing it forward and giving it to you. Which one is correct? They both are. Now it's up to you which one rings true, you see. There has been no trickery in this. It is the experience of the channel and what they've done with themselves inside. How interdimensional are they to have removed the 3D filters completely, so that they can see the things most apt to happen because of the vibratory rate of the futures compared to the earth. Let me tell you, it's like, again, a tarot reading of the planet, where they see the potentials of what the cards' energy lay out. And that's what they're going to bring back. Not the most dramatic, not the thing that's smoking the most because it's on fire, you see. You get a lot of doom and gloom, don't you? I know this. It must be frightening and fearful. Where you trust the prophets and the channels, and they'll go out and bring you information which is frightening and scary, and I'll tell you it's all there. The potentials of what humans might do on this planet has always been frightening and scary. But you've got to walk through that and get to the parts that are remarkable, that are filled with potentials of wisdom. And I return to question 1. Will there be peace on earth? That is what we see. That is what the channel in front of you sees. That is what Kryon sees. Number 5. I'd love to speak of this one. The question has been asked, is there a time of death for the human being which has been appointed? Is there a time when we're going to die? Do we know about it, as the human says, when we come in? We've never spoken of this in this way before. We're going to give you the answer as best we can. When you come in, there is a predisposition. The predisposition has a plan that you have set for yourself, and you can follow it to the end if you want. And yes, it has a death date. And if you do nothing all your life but follow that plan and stay in that groove of predisposition, that's when you're going to die. That's what you laid out for yourself. That is the plan. That is the life lesson. But the human being who understands that they are in control of their destiny moves out of the groove and changes everything. Then there is no predetermined time. And death is when it's ready and appropriate, even though it may not look appropriate to you. Let me tell you, I know who's here. I know the ones who've lost the loved ones. I know the 2 who have lost a child here. I know who's here. I'll tell you about that in question 7, because you're going to want to know if they're still around, aren't you? I'm going to answer that one too in a moment. But I'll tell you right now, what you do not know, human beings, and do not recognize are the things that didn't happen. Some of you have passed the appointed death time in the old energy because you moved off of the peg, out of the groove, into another direction that took you in a place where you became a spiritual being, a light worker perhaps, a prayer warrior perhaps, one who meditates often perhaps, who has no label at all perhaps, which extended your life and you went right past that pre-appointed place of death. And I want to ask you, did you celebrate it? How many of you are here ready to celebrate the things that did not happen because you made decisions and that traffic accident did not occur? Oh, it's prevalent in this group. Prevalent. Life and death. It's fast. It's instant. Gives and takes in a moment. And so many of you have walked through that, and you know those times. So many of you have gone to the dark night of the soul, and you've walked through that, and here you are at a meeting like this saying, how can I do more? Oh, that's why we love you. Dear human being, the love of God is here and it's thick tonight. And I'm giving you information that ought to make you celebrate who you are. I'm talking to masters, if they choose to be. Number 6, how can we tell when something's right? Kryon, I've done this and that. I can't tell which one I'm supposed to do. I listen to a number of channels. I can't decide which one. That's because you're doing it in 3D. Inside you, there is an innate sense, a compass, that will tell you when things are accurate or not. And you have to learn to go there. And maybe it's on your knees, and maybe it's when you're quiet, and maybe it's when you're in distress, but you have to learn to go there. And once you have done it, even in distress, and have felt what that is like, and get answers when you need them, you'll be able to go back when you're not in distress. Every day you can go to that place which is quiet and say, Dear Spirit, it is well with my soul. No matter what today, it is well. Tell me what I need to know this day. Push on that interdimensional door, we say, just with your intent, and it will start to flow into you. And you might say, well, I've done that and I don't feel anything. And I will say to you, that's because in 3D you expected an answer right then. How 3D of you. No, you get the answer when you need it. Haven't you figured that out yet? Haven't you figured that out yet? Blessed is the human being who goes to that place in 3D but understands the multidimensional aspects of the answers, of the energy, of the love of God, and is touched when he needs to be touched. And gets the answers when he needs to get the answers. And goes right up to the last possible second, perhaps. And then out comes the channeling of what he is to say, what he's to do. And he celebrates it. And he knows, I got the answer. Throw away those predisposed ideas in 3D of how things must work on the other side of the veil. Because they don't. Or the way God must deal with humans, because that's not the way God deals with humans. It's in an interdimensional way. Don't get off the floor thinking nothing happened. When you send light to a place on this planet, know it went there. You can sit down and say, I'm sending light and I have no idea where it should go. Dear Spirit, send it there. And the cosmic intelligence of the universe will do exactly that. And it'll put upon those places that need it the most. In Israel, in Somalia, in Iraq. Celebrate the light and the things that are joyful on the planet. The proof is within you. It always has been. Start learning to understand this feature. You want to know who is right and who is not. You want to know which one of those prophets had the right or more appropriate answer for the potential of the future. All you do is go inside. It'll ring. It'll sing to you. Learn to feel this. That's the compass. Finally, lastly, number 7. Dear Spirit, I've lost loved ones. Can they still see me? Do they know what I'm doing right now? Do they know I love them? Moms and dads, sisters and brothers, husbands and wives, children. Do they know what I'm doing? Do they know I think about them? Are they here? Last question. Oh yes. Is this confusing? And we've given channels about this before. If it's true, dear human being, that there's no such thing as time, your loved one goes to the other side of the veil. After a period, they come back and they incarnate, which means many of them are back here living human lives in other bodies. And in 3D, you say, well, if they're doing that, that means they can't see me. If they're doing that, that means that I've lost them. They're already on to something else, something bigger. I want to tell you the truth. One higher self for every and all lifetimes you have. In other words, there is one angel, only one angel with your name on it. It was the same higher self angel for every single one of the lifetimes you've had since Lemurian days. And that particular higher self knows all about all of the lives it has collected and is the focal point, is the center of everything. That is the lost loved one. That piece of God, not the human being that you lost, the piece of God that knows of the love that you had for them and that they had for you, who knows of what you did together when you were here as partners on the planet. And so the answer is yes. All of them. For that is part of the Kryon entourage, and that is what some of you feel when I come in. Are the ones, the higher selves, are the ones that you've loved and lost, that sit beside you and hold your hand during these times and say, I'm still here. I always will be until the day when you join me. And that is the truth. But it's not the human part. It's the wise, higher self part. It's the God part. But that part knows all, especially about the part of how much you loved him. I don't know how that makes you feel. But perhaps you might take a moment to celebrate it. Perhaps you might even think it's a good thing. What a system, you might say. Perhaps you might just take a moment and say, I see you, I accept you. Thank you for being with me. And then you'll let him walk out the door with you too. It's not just here. It's not just now. It's a beautiful interdimensional system that's been created for human beings to support them in love. That's what it is. That's what it always has been. That's what it's about. And so those are 7 questions. Oh, there'll be 7 more, I'm sure. But not now. Spirit knows your name. Even those who have come here and didn't expect to hear this. I know who you are. For the love of God goes out to all humanity. It knows each of you. What you're about. Loves each one. And that is the message of Kryon, and always will be. It's what we told you when we arrived. So much put out by humanity so that you could sit here today. Don't waste this. Spend the 2 minutes a day. Send the light. Make it purposeful. Make it a time that's quiet and alone. Give intent to it, which is divine. And then celebrate it after you've done it. All of you do that every day. What a difference. Sending light to this planet. It has so many dark places still. I would not say these things if they were not so. I speak to you from the other side of the veil, that place where there's a lot of work being done. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. Not too difficult to come into this place, it is. For in this energy we feel all that has been and the potentials of what will be in the very chairs that you sit. And the intent for this particular structure was always one of learning about God. And built into the very fabric of the wood was the human consciousness that built it for these reasons. And so there is an honoring that goes here, even before the message, even before the channel, even before the greeting that says, we recognize those who have had the epiphanies in the chairs, who've had the miracles here. And there have been many. Those who have come to worship and have raised their hands, and surging through them, they found the love of God. Well, that's the way it works. It's human intent that is the power. It is what is going on in the human being that makes the difference. Not the organizations, not the doctrines, not the books. Not the structure, not the rules, not the laws. For how are you with you? And how are you with those things called God? Indeed, there are those even now in disbelief of what they are seeing. This is simply the human being, they say, speaking yet again, pretending that he is hooked up to the other side of the veil where some strange entity is coming in with an affected voice giving a message for the day. Oh. And if that is you, and if that is your opinion, nothing that I will do will change it. For, dear one, you have free choice to feel or not feel. I know it is such a thing. We ask you to get the chills of God. For I will put into you the love that pours into this place from the other side of the veil, that is family, that is reunion, and fill you in a way that you will know that this is real. From the feet to the head to the crown chakra and beyond, you will know, indeed, this is real. It is a precious place that we call home with you. By intent, you have asked for this to be. You've given permission for Kryon to come here for a moment of time in your 3D to present whatever it is. Just to sit and listen. And again we say, you have no idea who came to say whom, you see. For you open the door with your permission, and you give us permission to sit before you, human being, the one doing the work. It's always been that way. Eons have gone by when we've wished to tell you the things that we now tell you, but we could not, for the energy of the human experience would not understand. And there are many of you in this time, in this day, who have asked for what we give now. We give freely of the energy of spirit that may flow into you. All of those who have asked for this will flow into you now with answers and solutions to even the most perplexing of problems. They flow in a way that they will be accessed later. This is what happens in a group such as this, at a time such as this, in an event such as this, is that even during the teaching there is what we call and have called a third language of intelligence that passes to you. You're wondering about the future. Is this right? Is this not right? What should I do now? I know who's here. Am I doing the right thing? I know who's here. How can I get to the next step? I know who's here. For those who want proof that this is what it seems to be, the only way we would say that there is proof, and that is that right now, if you would ask for being thought now, for you are part of what we call the quantum hologram, a oneness of thought that even humans participate in. We know this. It is how we know what you are thinking, what you are feeling, what you are doing. It is how we know how much you need us. But free choice is the optimum of all of the energies, and so we do not disturb it. We do not prove it when you ask for proof, if you've noticed. Instead, we ask you to turn inward and claim the mastery which we have put there by design, which you know is there intuitively, and which you can claim for the asking. It is a sweet moment. These times, a sweet moment. And the entourage of Kryon is present, along with others. They've been here now for some time. I don't even have to call them in. For the intent of the many, provide for the energy of all.